Hey there, health lovers. Welcome to The Scoop, where we serve you straight nutrition talk, one scoop at a time. I'm Rachel. I'm a dietitian. I'm a wife. I'm a mom of two busy boys, and I am a big fan of making small, healthy changes that can lead to big results. So grab your coffee, your water bottle, or even your afternoon snack and settle in. We're about to dive into today's scoop. And trust me, these simple tips are going to make healthy living feel a whole lot easier. Let's get started.
Any and all opinions and views shared by hosts and guests on this podcast are the speaker's own and do not represent the views of Live It Up or its affiliates or parent company.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Scoop, serving straight nutrition talk, one scoop at a time. Today, we are in a kitchen edition, and we're going to talk about smart snacking. We're going to talk about being able to choose better snacks and to really make sure that you are complementing your day and not detracting from it. Why do we snack? Is it important to snack? Let's talk about it. So snacks can fill a very specific role in your day. If you can't go more than about 4 hours without eating, snacks can be an incredibly important part of your day. The problem is we often reach for snacks that are not healthy, that don't provide us with the energy we need to have better concentration, to help get us out of the brain fog, and to help, us feel more energetic. So I think it's really important that we talk about how to put together a combination snack to make sure that you are hitting your goals of energy and of sustenance and of making sure that you are staying within your nutrition goals. There are lots of different ways that you can snack. You might find that the meal between breakfast and lunch, or the time between breakfast and lunch, is the time that you need a snack more. Personally, when I work with clients, I find a lot of those clients have a really hard time waiting between lunch and dinner. And that's when the afternoon slump happens, because breakfast happens fairly early if you're going to have breakfast, right? Maybe you have it around 7 or 8. And then lunch normally happens between 12 and 1. And that's like a 4-hour span. It's not that bad. You get to dinner time, and that might be 12 or 1, and then 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock, and we're looking at a full work day that you have not eaten. Of course you're hungry in the afternoon, right? You haven't eaten for 4 to 5 hours. Do you know it actually, the body goes through 90-minute cycles, and every 90 minutes we get a little bit more fatigued, our blood pressure comes down a little bit, our blood sugar comes down, and those are the times when you start to feel like a little bit as though you've been reading the same sentence over and over again on your phone or on your computer, and it's just not making sense. So about every 90 minutes, it's a good idea to get up, stretch, take some water, take a small walk, and then come back refreshed. When you have too many of those cycles, all of a sudden your blood sugar is too low, and you really can't bring it back up without providing your body with some sustenance. And that's when that afternoon slump happens, and all of a sudden you just can't concentrate. It's a great time to make sure that you are getting the nutrition that you need and not just reaching for caffeine. So a lot of people will say, it's time for my afternoon coffee. I need to go get that energy drink. I am so tired right now. I'm very fatigued. Must be caffeine. But it's not. Your body is asking for something else. So you really have to listen to your body to understand what it's trying to tell you. That's the first kind of snacking, the snacking when you really do need physical nourishment. The other type of snacking is when you are just bored and you're like, I'm going to eat some chips now. Or you're sitting there after dinner. This is the other. So it's the afternoon slump. That's a big time for like munchies. But that time, it makes sense, right? You are hungry. You need to eat. It's after dinner that is more of the snacky time when you might not need a lot of sustenance. It's just your brain saying, I am ready. Let's put some cravings on the table, let's just start to eat something. And that's a really hard time to handle. And we talked about cravings before. And so just want to make sure that you have those ducks in a row and you understand the difference between a mental hunger and the cravings and physical hunger when you actually need to put good nourishment in your body. So now you know you have to go into your day prepared to have a snack. If you have that afternoon slump, 100%, I want you to get a snack ready. So let's look at your different options and talk about what makes a good snack. I want you to take a look at these. All of these are the same amount of calories. They're all 150 calories. For chips, you can have 17 chips for 150 calories. For popcorn, which is a whole grain, it's a slightly better choice than chips. You can go for 3 cups. It depends on the type. If you pop it at home, you can have 4 cups, and it's great because you haven't added if you haven't added a lot to your popcorn, you could probably have about 4 cups, all right? If you decide to go the route of, I'm gonna get some vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, and then a little bit of protein, you can have a cup of carrots, 3/4 cup of blueberries, and a couple tablespoons of hummus, and that's how you can kind of drive that one home. Now, are you gonna be satisfied after these two? You might not be. And the reason is because they are pure carbohydrate. The popcorn has a little bit of fiber, you're eating a little bit more, but really, if I were to pour water on this, it would like sink down to almost nothing. And that's what's happening. You chew it up, it goes in your stomach, and you're like, I am not satisfied. And it's because carbohydrates come in, they make you feel really good, a little euphoric, because those carbohydrates release the dopamine in your brain. It is a snap. In terms of like your energy comes up really fast because they are high glycemic foods. That means they raise your energy really quickly. That also means that it drops your blood sugar levels pretty fast and your energy goes away pretty quickly because there's nothing to sustain you. There's no protein and no healthy fats. If we're looking here, now I would probably change this a little bit to have some nuts in here or maybe some cheese, maybe a little bit of yogurt, and you would still be eating a decent amount of food, right? But that would give us a little bit more protein. Hummus does have protein, just it might not be a lot for you in terms of what you need, so you have to take it individually. Some people will be very satisfied. There's a lot of fiber in here, there's some protein, you've got a lot of vitamins and minerals. So this is a better option in terms of making sure that you are a little bit more sustained. Now, a lot of people would look at this and be like, carrots are so bad for you, Rachel. I would never eat that many carrots. They have a high glycemic index. And I would tell you, you have to eat 3 cups of carrots to actually make your blood sugar go up that much. So if we're looking at, overall, how much can you eat? What is the nutrition composition? I want you to think about, there's gonna be a little bit of complex carbohydrates. I prefer these complex carbohydrates because they come with a lot of nutrition. This is a complex carbohydrate and it comes with some fiber, but it doesn't have quite as much nutrition, right? It's kind of sinking down a little bit. If you wanted to, you could be like, have half of these carrots and blueberries and have a cup of popcorn with it. Listen, you don't have to cut it out. I want you to add more nutrition to it, okay? So you're gonna have the complex carbohydrate for your immediate energy. You will have protein for your lasting energy. It's gonna keep you satisfied. It's gonna make sure that you're just not picking up that bag of chips again. If you get a little healthy fat in there, that's great. Hummus has some healthy fat in it because it's blended up with some oil. Or you could do something like a nut butter with something like a banana. And if you do a green banana, you're getting resistant starch. Like I said before, you could do a little bit of Greek yogurt, a little bit of nuts on top, and some berries. And you want the triad: protein, complex carbohydrates, fruit or a vegetable, right? This is your triad when it comes to a snack. That's how you're gonna get more nutrition. So I have a lot of people ask, well, can I use like a spread, a cocoa spread? Looks very healthy from the outside, guys. You know what's funny? The most popular cocoa spread on the market, you know the one I'm talking about, used to have this advertisement on television that made me so angry. And it would say like, you'd see this mom rushing around and she's trying to feed her kids breakfast. And she's like, having this spread in the morning gives my kids, some nuts and some skim milk, and it's just a great way to start the day. They failed to mention that sugar is the first ingredient. Do you know what the second one is? A vegetable oil blend. No nuts or cocoa in sight yet. The third one is when you get to the nuts, and the fourth one is when you get to the cocoa. And then you got to go way down if they were like, it's got skim milk in it, and it's like a tiny, tiny bit. So I want you to be your own nutrition sleuth and be like, I'm not just going to take it at face value. It's really not a good nut spread. It's going to give you other stuff that you just don't need. Like I said, sugar is the first ingredient. So I want you to think it through. Nut butters are great, but make sure you're choosing the one that is right for you, that's going to give you the most nutrition. The other thing that people might choose is something like tuna. You could have tuna with some avocado for a snack. You could do tuna with some vegetables. Something I used to love to do is like tuna mixed with salsa, and I would like scoop up with like bell pepper scoops and like eat it like that. That might sound boring to you. It's kind of fun. I kind of liked it. But one thing I do want you to be aware of is that a lot of people will choose the solid white albacore. I want you to know that that comes from the biggest fish, which means it has the most mercury. So when you're choosing tuna in a can, I want you to think about getting the chunk light. Chunk light comes from a small fish. That's why it's all shredded up in there. They can't get the big hunks in. Smaller fish, less mercury. You can have it more often. You don't have to avoid this. I would actually avoid the solid white albacore for kids, just too much mercury for them. For an adult, you could have it once a week. It's not a big deal. But I would be really careful in terms of how often you have it if that's the one you prefer. If you get the chunk light, you can have it more often because it's much lower in mercury. And so that's how I want you to think about your snacking. I want you to be prepared for it. So if you have a long day at work and you come home and you're always going through the cabinets, looking for a snack, you're snacking while you make dinner, or you're snacking while someone is making dinner, and then all of a sudden it's dinner time and you're full of snacks, and then you don't have room for the really good nutrients that you're gonna get from dinner, and hopefully you are getting really good nutrients from dinner, then you wanna think about having a snack before you leave work or having a snack later in the afternoon, because once you're too hungry, once you're ravenous, you can't make a good decision about your meal. You can't make a good decision about the foods that you're going to eat. So I want you to make sure that if we're looking at a scale of between 1 and 10, 1 being you are like ravenously hungry, and 10 being you are so stuffed, it is after Thanksgiving and you are like in a lot of pain. You want to eat by the time you're at a 4, right? You're feeling a little bit hungry. By the way, it is good to feel a little hunger. You want to be a little hungry. Don't be scared of hunger. Don't just eat because you're worried you're going to be hungry. Have a little bit of hunger, write it out. When you get to the point where you're like, oh, now I need to eat. Because you know that point. You know the point where you're like, oh, I really should eat now. That's the best time, because that's when you know you can make a good decision about your portion size and about the items that you're going to put on your plate. Once you get below like a 3, it's like out the window, right? You're just going to go for whatever you come in contact with, and it's going to be really hard to stop. So make sure that you are aware of your hunger and that you know, like, okay, maybe within an hour, I should start to eat something. On the other end, if we're talking about fullness, with snacks, you don't want to be full. Snack is not a full meal. You don't want to get to that point. At that point, it is too much. This is just your bridge to go from one meal to the other. So you want your snack to be, like decent. For a snack, you'd probably want to be around a 6, like just over that mark. You're like, I feel like I could have eaten a little bit more, but it's a snack. I don't need to eat more. If we're talking a meal, your hunger, you should your fullness, you should stop like around a 7 or so, because that's satisfied. And if you stop at satisfied right before you get full, you're doing a really good job. So that's how I want you to think about snacks. You have to prepare ahead of time, and you have to make sure that you are ready for whatever time of day that you feel like you might need it, whether it's the afternoon slump or maybe it's mid-morning. It's going to be important to prep it ahead of time. All right, guys, so now you know what time it is. It's time to get into our micro habits, our micro goals. How are you going to take the information that we talked about in terms of snacks and move it forward so that you are now implementing the snacks that are going to keep you nourished, they're going to keep you satisfied, and they're not just going to drain you and have you feel like you still have to keep snacking? Because you could, I'm sure we've all done it. You could eat a bag of chips and you could still be hungry, right? You wouldn't feel that awesome, but you'd still be like, where's the steak? Or like, give me more to eat. And at that point, you might just not want to eat anything healthy anymore. Let's break it down. First, I want you to decide, what could be a good snack combination for you? Is it going to be a hard-boiled egg and some fresh cut bell pepper and an apple? Is it going to be some whole grain crackers and some cheese and some blueberries? Is it going to be some Greek yogurt and some nuts and some berries? There's so many options. It could be cottage cheese for your protein source. It could be beans for your protein source. And again, with the complex carbohydrates for a snack, I would highly recommend that you go mostly for fruits and vegetables because it's got a lot of nutrition packed. It's got more than like a whole grain would give you, especially a snack whole grain is more like chips and stuff or crackers. And those are they're still processed, and there are some that are better than others, but to get the most bang for your buck in such a small mini meal, you really want to go for like the quality stuff here. Think about your healthy fat too. Like if you're gonna have a little bit of nuts with that, that can work. So think about your triad. Think about what you're going to have. Remember, it's protein, it's complex carbohydrate, and it is fruits and vegetables or healthy fats. So you can think about it in like a couple different ways. All right. So break it down. What do you choose? Write it down. Here are the snacks I want this week. All right. So you have the snacks that you want. Now, how are you going to implement it? You have to go grocery shopping. Put it on your grocery list. Make sure that that happens. You put it on a list. You bring it home. Then what? How are you going to remember? What's your contextual cue to bring it to work or to have it in the afternoon instead of reaching for the coffee? Maybe it's that you kind of meal prep your snack and you say, I'm having these snacks. I'm going to put them in the little baggies or the little containers and I'm going to get it ready. It's going to be stacked in my fridge. I'm going to remember to grab it and go. Maybe you don't remember to grab it and go. Maybe you're the kind of person who has to go grocery shopping at work and keep your snacks at work, right? Whether you have to label it for the refrigerator to make sure no one eats it. And even if they do eat it, maybe you have to put like science experiment mold growing or something like that, right? Or maybe you get shelf-stable things. Either way, you want to make sure that it is ready and accessible when it's time to have that snack. Make sure you drink plenty of fluids too, okay? Because if you're going through your day a little bit thirsty, it's going to be really hard to make nutrition decisions as well. So I want to hear from you. What kind of micro habits are you going to start? How are you going to get into better snacking, smarter snacking, so that you feel more confident in your meal decisions later in the day? Let me know in the judgment-free zone.